Welcome to another episode. Wow, let's try that again. Welcome to another episode of Talking Nerdy in the Bedroom with
Let's try that again. No, Corey.
KJ.
And Mike.
Thanks, Mike, for showing that you can do this without screwing up, unlike the two of us.
Nailed it.
Mine was on purpose.
You say that, but I don't believe you. Anyway.
You gag really well. I just want to let you know that.
He's had a lot of practice.
Yeah.
Anyway, this week's episode is House of the Dragon, which is the prequel series.
House of the Dragon is the hot D.
I
Right?
know,
know
what
it.
I'm saying.
But yeah, the prequel series to Game of Thrones. How long's Game of Thrones been off the air now? 4 years?
I don't know.
A few.
I was going to say less, but
I wanted to say
COVID's
2018.
messed with my sense of time.
Not long enough for people to forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, season 8. But then we technically get like a season -1 or season 9, however you want to call this, with it being a prequel.
Well, yeah, but it's not like a direct lead up.
I mean, it basically kind of is.
It's not a direct lead
It
up.
might. We're only on season 1, and they keep time jumping.
Yeah, they
every
could time
single
jump
episode.
182 years.
If they time jump just like unrelated to the characters in the show, I guess they could.
How many years do you think that they've time jumped so far?
10.
Only 10? It's way more than 10.
Sorry.
Do you know the answer? Because you looked it up?
The last time I checked, but I don't remember now. I thought it was in the 30s, but as we're talking about
That
it, I
sounds
will
wrong.
check. Why?
Because
She's only like 16 in the beginning.
And you're saying now she's 46?
Yeah.
No.
Doubt.
You guys and your doubts.
I'm thinking between 10 and 20.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely more than 10 because in one episode, 10 years goes by.
Yeah, that's why I would think maybe like 15 or something.
It's probably like 50.
She's popped out a few kids.
And the kids have gotten older, and then
Well,
obviously
some of
one of them
didn't.
died.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. How old is her oldest kid?
I would guess 16
So it's
By what episode? By the end?
by the end.
So it's got to be 19 years.
Yeah, probably
Like
closer to
3 years before she has a kid, and then 16 years after that.
20. Yeah.
I don't know. I hated the time jumps. I hated them so much because
You were just sad that the blonde girl turned into an old blonde girl.
No, I was more sad that as soon as they
Although
got me hooked.
the actress is 21, but I don't feel good about her being 21.
The
Because she
original
looked
one?
like 16, yeah.
No.
The actress looked like 16.
There was no reason they couldn't just continue playing their characters. They didn't look any younger than
28 years.
Okay,
28 years.
not 30.
Oh, fuck you.
Price is right rules, bitch.
Yeah.
28 years.
You overbid.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Close
but
without
it's
going over.
such a long time, and you keep having episodes
So
with
how
this.
old is she in the beginning?
I don't know.
16.
No, she
Yeah.
can't be 16.
She's 17. She's 1 in 7 years.
What?
What?
1 in 7 years. That's what they say. Like,
Oh, they did say that?
yeah, she's 1 in 7 years. She's 17.
Okay.
Father is trying to get her to be married.
That wasn't in the first episode, was it?
I mean, the same time jump period, like within 6 months, I'm sure. Whatever time.
Like
short
the
time
first
span that
episode
goes
to the
by.
second episode was like 6-month time jump.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I think
So,
I
we're
think at
saying
some point she
she's-
says when they're talking about her being married, when he's at her like brother's whatever's the festival thing in the woods when she kills the boar,
Yep.
he says she's 1 in 7 years.
So we're saying she is 17 and 28, so 45 in the friggin'...
By the end of it?
Now keep in mind,
How old is Damon then? 28 years? He had to be at least in his 20s in the beginning.
I don't know if he was in his 20s because I said that too. Everybody else aged so much in this show. Him? No, he's the Keanu Reeves of House of the Dragon where he doesn't age at all from the
Well, keep
first
in mind,
episode
he
to
also-
the last episode.
he also has a time machine.
Oh,
So
that
there's
is true. Yes,
He is the
Doctor
time.
Who.
He's the time master, whatever you want to call it. The doctor.
15.
He was
She's-
15
No, she is
Oh.
15.
in the first episode.
In the first and second episode, she's 15 years old.
And then she becomes 17.
Yeah.
Yeah. because they keep time jumping. And then she eventually, 28 years later.
And looks completely
Hey, they're coming out
different.
with a movie that's supposed to be like that.
What? Jumping
Like,
time?
No, the 28 years later.
Oh, from 28 days later, 28 months later, 28 years later. Yeah.
Isn't it 28 weeks later?
Yeah,
What
28
did I
weeks
say?
later.
Months?
Yeah.
Yeah, I meant weeks.
Yeah, this next one is supposed to be like 28 years later. or
Years
something.
later, yeah. Which I don't know. I don't think it will be 28 years from the first movie came
Well,
out. But that would be
no.
good time. Well, the first movie came out in like 2000. So if we waited a few more years, we could have 28 years later.
It's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
If it came
That's how
out in
math works.
2000.
I'll have to look to see exactly
Yeah, I feel
when
like
it came up.
out later than that. But I could be
Just
wrong.
a random side note.
2007.
Yeah, so later.
So 35.
That's a long time
They
to
could
wait.
they could sit in production for the next 13 years.
It's like Spawn.
Well, Black Adam that we just saw sat in production for 10 years.
Yeah. Spawn is going to be like that
Yeah.
forever.
God, that's been sitting in production since early
least-
2000s, I think.
No, well, at least 4 years.
Hot D!
Yeah, so
It's like Tom McDonald, not Tom McDonald.
Ronald
Seth
McDonald?
Seth.
Tom McFarland.
Todd McFarlane.
Todd
Yeah, I was going
McFarlane.
to say Seth McFarlane.
Yeah,
I was
Todd
like,
McFarlane announced that they got greenlit on it. But that was like 4 years ago. They're writing the script on it anyway.
All right, back to House of the Dragon. So when you guys first heard about this show, actually, because HBO announced they were going to do like 4 different spin-off shows. Now we might be getting 2. We might be getting House of the Dragon, which we got.
Snow.
Hopefully it's going to continue. And then, Snow, which is going to be a sequel to
We already
Game
got
of
Snow. It
Thrones.
came last night.
It did. No, was it
They,
yes?
they
Not
are
last night. The
no,
day
night
before, right? Yeah.
But they are also still in the same level that Snow might get made. They're talking about making, I forgot what it's called, 1,000 ship. I don't know. It's about the sea snake and that side of the.
The Stepstones. The fleet.
Yeah, I don't know if it's specifically the Stepstones, but it's about the Valerian bloodline that's not the Targaryens. I just don't remember what it's called.
Super helpful. Thanks, Corey. Moving back to
One of
House
us
of
has
the
a
Dragon,
computer
though.
in front of him, so.
Well, yeah, but it's kind of hard to have a conversation keep going if I just keep staring at a computer and keep typing things. You guys aren't much for the talking unless I'm leading.
Okay.
See? Silence. More silence.
We're baffled.
Guys are good at this. So anyway, when you guys heard that this show was coming out after the disastrous season 8, were you excited for more Game of Thrones? Were you hoping that they would bring it back to what the original first few seasons were? Or were you uninspired by the fact that they were going to do something else and possibly even more ruin the franchise?
I was excited that they were going with a different direction, and it really couldn't be worse.
I thought, if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong, didn't you like season 8?
I didn't hate season 8,
Okay.
but there was room for improvement. Like
Oh,
I'm not.
yeah,
I won't be
a lot.
the. I'm not gonna lie about that. There's definitely room for improvement. I hated the last episode for sure. That was like
Ugh.
the worst of all of the whole series. The last
a-
episode was awful.
Such a bad culmination.
Yeah. So I mean, they could only go up from there.
Go up even though it's a prequel.
Yeah. I mean, I guess theoretically it could be worse.
Yeah.
But having their own different story, different characters. I mean, it was fresh, I guess.
Yeah, and I believe you're the one who told me, Corey, that the first few seasons we had George R.R. Martin kind of in the background helping out with Game of Thrones, and then obviously tapered off as he had no more books, and they kind of went off book on season 5 or 6 or whatever it was. And with House of the Dragon, he's been like not necessarily a pivotal person, but they've gone to him a bunch about the story.
No, he's been on set.
Yeah.
The whole time. Yeah, no, he's really involved with the script writers and everything.
And I do know that he actually said that the guy that plays Rhaenyra's dad, I forget his name, Daenerys, right? Yeah. Says that he plays him better than he wrote him. Like, he was actually super impressed with his performance in the show, and it was way better and way more in depth than he expected that character to be that he wrote. So I thought that was high praise. for
Seeing him
someone
in
like
the last episode that he's alive is rough.
Yeah.
His face is rough.
He's such a good character, too.
So he has grayscale, is that right?
It's what I assumed it was, but
Like
I don't think they announced. Or
The
said what
Valerian
it is.
disease that you see Sir Mormont?
Jorah Mormont.
Yeah. He gets, and then he goes to the tower, and then Sam is the one who heals him.
By peeling it all off, which
Yeah.
is what it seemed like they were doing.
Yeah, but
But
he
they
was just
weren't-
really old.
Yeah.
So, like, he wasn't taking to it very well.
Although Mormont wasn't like a spring chicken either.
Well, true, but he was also, like, a knight, so he's considerably more, like, robust than a fat king.
I mean, you're not wrong.
And also keep in mind, like,
Who are we talking about?
the king.
Veneris?
Is that what it is? Veneris?
Hang on.
That doesn't sound right.
No.
King Viserys?
Oh, Viserys Targaryen. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So King Viserys lived quite long. Like, keep
Yes.
in mind, like,
I thought he was originally gonna die.
Yeah, you originally see, like, the thing, I think it's on his back or something. When, like,
Well,
Rhaenyra
he
is
stabs
young.
himself too on the
chair.
and I always thought potentially that was how like he caught something, was because of the chair. They never explain that. They don't say anything. They actually say in the book it's supposed to be a sign that you're not a great
Not
king.
fit to rule.
Right.
Yeah. if you
And
can't
then
sit
people
the
were
throne.
saying like, well, why didn't it happen to like Joffrey and things like that? And apparently it does in the book, but they didn't translate that to the Game of Thrones series. It's something that they left out. Like they left out a lot of stuff.
I don't know. Joffrey had definitely a little prick. So
So, what did you guys think of everybody's performance in the show? As we just talked about one that obviously George R.R. Martin liked. I liked it. What did you guys think about the other characters in the show? We have Daemon, we have Rhaenyra, we have everybody else that's in the show. Kids.
I thought Rhaenyra, the original actress,
So the younger kid.
was amazing.
Yep.
And I don't like the new one. I just feel like it's not the same character at all. And you could make the argument she grew up, changed, etc. But
They didn't show it.
No, and I just don't like her. I think the other one, her friend, I still liked the original one better, but the new one is fine.
It's almost the same.
Yeah,
character,
it's about
too.
the same character. It makes more sense.
Yeah.
Damon is probably my favorite character.
Oh.
But you don't like Damon?
I don't know. They don't age him well.
I agree with. He's
that
the only
I agree
one.
with. I'm just saying he's fun to watch because he's always a badass.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like when that fight in the
He's
steps.
not a believable character.
What didn't you believe about him?
I don't know. He just doesn't like. I want to say do things that are like impactful. Like the only thing that I liked that he did was when he cut off the guy's head.
Yeah, it was a good scene.
Like,
Dude, when he storms that beach by himself, pretty much, it was awesome. I was like,
Yeah, that was also a good scene.
I like, and you're talking. I thought you meant cut off that guy's head on the beach. You're talking about when he cuts off the guy's head
And
in
says
the
that he
throne
can
room.
keep his tongue.
yeah,
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, let him keep his tongue.
Fantastic
Yeah.
scene. But there's certain moments like that he has where you go from him being like a slimy little prick in the first few episodes to then him being her slimy little prick, and then it feels better and it's okay and it's incest and
yeah. That's also weird.
yeah.
I never really took him as that much of like a slimy prick. I just
He celebrated the death of his nephew that was born for less than a day.
Okay, yeah, that was a bit
Yeah.
a bit prickish.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I think it was also like he just didn't like the direction his brother was going, not just because of him not being the heir, but like he was.
He also took his 17-year-old niece into a whorehouse to bang her.
Or 15. We don't know exactly how old she was at
Yeah,
that
but
point.
you got to remember these are Targaryens. That's like
So he took her into a whorehouse.
that's
to do it.
normal. I know, but you can't assign like moral values from our society to them.
To a
because-
fake society, I agree.
yeah. Well, that's right. That's what I'm saying.
Well, no, it's still not right. You still obviously look at it and go, well, that's weird. Even though they do it, they don't think it's wrong. That doesn't mean that's not
the
weird.
original Targaryen married his sisters. Like,
Both of them?
yeah, he had 2 sister wives. Like he's
Okay.
from Utah. Like, what do
I
you?
don't think they married their
Jorah Mormont.
That was good. That was good.
Yeah, I mean Jorah. You got problems with Jorah? Because he's basically going after a 13-year-old his whole time.
She's not 13 in the show.
I don't know if they say in the show, but I know she's supposed to be really young.
Who?
Daenerys.
Khaleesi.
Daenerys Targaryen.
I know,
I don't think
for
she's
instance,
that
when
young.
She's aged 13 in the books.
age 13?
13 in the books. Game of Thrones ages her up to 16, 17 for season 1.
Oh, okay, well, I don't feel like they ever say that, so I feel like I was just basing it off of the book where I knew she was 13.
So technically, the guy who plays, was it Jason Momoa plays?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's why in the
So
book
he's
it's
the real guy. He's the real scummy.
well, I mean,
But he's
well,
also
in the book, because if she's 13, Jesus.
well, right, in the book that was a big thing, was like there's child rape, basically, because that's what that amounts to. However, you say that, but then at the same time, if you look back at our medieval societies, people...
It still is, though.
I know,
Just because it was okay at the time doesn't mean it's still...
No, but I'm just saying
wrong.
it's not like that different from Game of Thrones versus how medieval
right,
history
the
was with
Romans
us.
had
Right.
their like,
The second you flowered, you
Yeah.
were married off.
yeah,
Yeah, because then you could have kids.
Well, the Romans had like their like bath boys,
The
like-
fuck is a bath boy?
like the
is that like a...
senators of the Roman Empire had like boys that they would have in their bath chambers.
Oh, I thought this was a boy band. This went in a different way than I expected.
You know, like they're like the Roman baths.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Never heard of the Roman baths?
No.
Ever?
What?
Yep, no.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, well they're a thing.
All right, apparently I'm not Googling this,
And-
just
and-
so you know.
And you can't even say you've had a bath without a bath boy.
Right.
Speaking from experience here, is that what we're doing?
Just history, dog.
Like the Romans like their young
was
boys.
on the History Channel.
That's right.
All right, so performance-wise, so obviously you didn't like Damon, but what about everybody else? Because there's a whole lot of characters, and we have a bunch of different families. Obviously, we got to see some of the oh god, I've already forgotten their name. Cersei's family.
Lannisters.
Yeah, we got to see the Lannister. We saw the one person for that who was slimy, kind of felt like a Lannister the entire
he
time.
felt slimy more
Yeah,
than me.
he did.
Yeah.
We got to see the other families throughout, and I think they're supposed to be exploring that a lot in the second season. We're supposed to see the Baratheons in the next season, like more. I think we're supposed to see the Starks, besides for them
Tullys.
just talking about it, Tullys. So, was there anybody's performance that stood out? Because I really enjoyed. I didn't care that he was black, and everybody made a big deal about it. But the guy who was running owned all the ship. Yeah.
Yeah. I liked him.
There was huge controversy because he was black, and if you're thinking that long ago, black people probably would have been slaves and blah 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 blah. They wouldn't have a position of power.
Pretty sure in the book he's black.
I have no idea. I haven't read
Dark
the book.
skin.
So
with,
I
like,
guess
white hair.
that is, I don't know who's making that accusation, but keep in mind, like this is like Middle Earth style. Like
where it doesn't matter.
why would they be slaves compared to anybody
I
else?
have no idea. It was just a huge controversy.
Or like think about like
And
ancient
this is a
Egypt.
land with
Like who was the
dragons,
slaves?
too.
The Jews were the slaves in ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
Like it had nothing to do with like even African Americans, just Africans. Period.
Well, yeah, but part of that is the fact that that's who was in that region was the Jews.
Well, that's
So
what
then
I'm
we
saying.
made
Like
them slaves.
Yeah,
so,
well, no, but Egyptians were black and they made slaves of the Jews. I think that's his point. It's just that it doesn't matter what race you were to say like these people would be
yeah,
slaves. in
right,
Game of
exactly.
Thrones.
Like what? Why would people be upset about that?
Actually,
it was a big
most slavery
controversy.
was self-induced by I don't want to say all because obviously there's a lot of
Self-induced
race.
sounds weird.
Well, because people who committed crimes were able to like sell themselves into slavery to get out of it. People who owed money they couldn't pay. There was a lot of
That's like serfdom.
well, there was a lot of people who wanted to come to the New World, America, and they did it by selling themselves into slavery to do so. I'm not saying that was from England. I'm talking about.
That is not where the majority of slaves
No,
came
I'm not
from.
saying it is. I'm not saying it is. But I feel like that is kind of more the kind of slaves we see, like in Game of Thrones. This Jorah gets in trouble for selling slaves, but he's selling criminals into slavery.
Right.
So it's more that's where he was identifying slaves to be sold, but it was still legal in Westeros, so that's why he was exiled. However, I think when you go over to Essos, the slaves were basically anyone weak enough for the Dothraki to just run over and be like, we took you, you're slaves now.
Right. Well, be a slave or you die.
Right, basically. So I don't think it had anything to do with like, oh, these people are from any of the specific area. They were just like, we dominated your whole land. So
yeah, it had nothing to do with like the color of your skin. It was just your general area.
Right. Dothraki pretty much just took everything and anything in their path. I like, there was a really cool part in Game of Thrones where they're explaining how different cities would respond to a Dothraki horde. And Jorah's basically like, they'll bring money and hope that it's enough for the Dothraki to pass them by. But sometimes the Dothraki just want their men to be blooded and fight. So it doesn't matter how much they bring, they're still going to sack the city. They're just like, oh, man.
Yeah, we didn't really get to see. We only saw that like once, maybe twice.
Yeah.
In the original
They're basically
series.
supposed to be the Huns back in
Sure.
the day. Yeah, like that's what they are. Most of these societies are based on our history because go figure, that's the material people pull from. But
Back to House of the Dragon, though, and performances. I like the sea snake. Or not the sea snake. Is that who it is? No.
yeah.
Yeah.
The guy
Yeah.
that runs the boats.
Yeah. So I liked him and his performance throughout, even when he got sick and then came back from being sick and then pledged his allegiance. Was there anybody's performance that you guys thought like stood out within this show?
Daemon and the King basically are the ones that stood out the most for me.
Was there nobody else that kind of like...
I mean, I like the sea snake, but like...
Well, even his wife is really good. She has like three or four scenes with Rhaenyra that are
She just
really well
busts
done.
through the Grand Sept with the dragon.
Oh, at the end, yeah.
That was cool.
I don't know. I might have been talking to one of you about this, but whoever it was made a good point that like, or was bringing up the fact that people are upset that she just did that and then left.
Yes.
And I get that, like.
Well, they were upset about it in the next episode too. They even said like, "Why didn't you just?" burn them all alive?
It doesn't make any sense because she's like, "Well, I was sending a message. I wasn't trying to start a war. It's not my war to start." Was her excuse, and I'm like, you don't think you kind of did when you like knocked down the wall, basically implied.
Although
you
she was imprisoned, so technically
she was.
Was
yes
she not
and
locked
no.
in her room?
Right, but that's what I mean. She was imprisoned in the sense they were like, until you make a decision, we don't want you to leave.
Until you make the right decision.
Right. I get it, but at the
So
same time,
the other
She
question
was
is,
breaking out of jail,
was there
so-
any other way for her dragon to leave without going through the ceiling?
See, that's why I think yes, because the dragon probably had to have a way out and in to begin with.
But it could have been caged already. They could have like there could be like a portcullis on the way out, and
So
the
then
only
you just
way
go up?
is up.
Yeah, but it
Whoa,
seems
wait.
awfully.
She didn't come up. She came through the front door.
No,
she came up through the floor.
through the floor.
Really?
Yeah, like killed a shit ton of people.
Crap ton.
I really
man.
thought she slammed
No,
through the
no,
front
no.
door.
She-
Well,
They're
she
underneath
she left the Grand Sept through the front door. She
Yes.
smashed the front door,
But yeah,
she
she
originally
came
came up through the floor from the.
Oh, that's where the
Well, then
dragon
I don't
was.
have a problem with it then. Because if that probably was her way out.
Right.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, she probably the only way to get out was to go up through the Grand Sept.
Although that's
and at
a
that
little
point, it's
bit
like
convenient.
I'm leaving. I'm taking my dragon with me. I'm not trying to start a war.
Wait,
This is what I had to
If
do to leave.
anything, it could have also been, I just want you to know, could have murdered you all,
Right.
but I'm leaving.
Right.
Maybe we stop building the Grand Septs over things that either explode or have dragons housed in them. That's literally what happened in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
That's two groups. Wow. Yeah, I'm never go to the Grand Sept. It's not that.
Have we
grand.
learned something today? Don't go to church.
Yeah.
That
At
should
least
be
don't
the
go
title
inside.
of this episode.
Yeah.
Especially churches built over dragon pits.
It's
Yeah.
true. Yes.
It's crazy.
Yes. What did you guys think about the dragons? Because obviously we got dragons like right away, episode 1 or 2 of this, compared to Game of Thrones, which took the entire first season to get to episode 10, where you got the baby dragons, and then we had another 2 seasons of them growing before we finally got decent dragons.
I think
in, like,
the
season
only
4.
thing that confused me a little bit is the whole, I forget what his name is, Aemond, the guy with the eye missing. He just like goes and claims the biggest dragon in the land, like
Well, that one doesn't have an owner.
because the owner died. I get
Right.
it, but
I think that's the way. That's what it sounded like through them. Like that's how you do it.
You have to You have to claim the dragon.
I'm surprised like Damon did it. I mean, I know he already had a dragon, but still.
I think once you have claimed a dragon in their society, you're not allowed to claim another one because you have like a bond. It's Rick and Morty soul bonding.
I don't know. It's just really weird. Let's put it this way: Damon had another daughter who hadn't claimed one yet. You would have thought the first thing he did was like consolidate the power because that's the biggest dragon in the world.
And not to mention, it was her mom.
I know. So
dragon.
they had dibs.
Pretty sure he did it at her funeral, though, right?
Yeah, he
did it that night or something.
Yeah, so it could have been, although it was months from the time she died until they got there.
Yeah, that's true, because they weren't even there. They were across the ocean.
Yeah, they still had to get there. So you are talking about
the dragon could have killed her and then been, like, sad and flown off. Because he was, like, on an isle. Like, he probably flew back to Dragonstone.
I don't know. It just seemed weird to me that he would let that kind of mistake occur.
I don't think he was planning on someone doing that, though. Because he got pretty pissed about it by my understanding. Because he was like, well, that dragon was sworn to the kids, and I'm pretty sure someone actually said that. And he's like, I've claimed it.
Yeah, all I know is that screws.
Because the girls, they meet him down when he loses the eye. Yeah. Like, she confronts him. And like, that dragon is mine. That was my mother's dragon. He's like, well, I took it.
You know what was another weird part? In the scene where the kid is sent as an envoy, and then Aemon's already there.
Yeah.
And then
in the last episode?
Right. And then Aemon's like, give me your eye and stuff. And it's like, I want your eye. You're not leaving without me cutting out your eye. It made not much sense to me because he even said himself earlier that it was a fair trade.
Yeah, but that was when he was younger. Then you still get upset about it. They're challenging his claim for the throne too.
No, his brother's claim for the throne.
His family's claim for the throne.
Yeah, but he hates his brother too.
Well, he does, but you probably still also love your brother, and then if you kill your brother eventually, then you get the throne.
Pretty sure he wanted to kill his brother and then just couldn't go through with it in that one scene.
Yeah.
He was basically like, I should just let him get killed here. And then he's like, I can't do that.
Well, he might still have a play for power. He might allow his brother to take the throne, so then when his brother dies, he has a solid claim to the throne. Whereas if his brother dies, then there's still an open claim to the throne before he's coronated.
Right. Although he's been coronated now, right?
Well, yeah, right. But at the coronation ceremony is when all hell breaks loose.
Well, right, but then he got coronated, and then after that scene is when he goes and says, I want your eye for the other kid. Yeah.
Well, he hasn't had time to kill his brother yet.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, let's it sink in a little bit.
So what did you guys... So I asked, I don't know if I got an answer. What did you guys think about the dragons compared to Game of Thrones dragons?
Some of them are cool, some are kind of lame.
I like the fact that they look different. Like, I hate Damon's dragon, the space noodle.
It reminds me of like the dragon... Bigger, obviously, but from Mulan. That's like really long.
Yeah, it's like a sky noodle.
What's his name? Syraxes?
I don't know.
Not in Mulan, in the show, Damon's dragon. I think it's Syraxes or something.
Yeah. I was unaware how huge the other one is, though.
Yeah,
until you finally see him in like the scene where he like eats the other dragon.
Like, it is...
That's massive.
Massive dragon. Yeah.
Like 747 dragon.
I will also say this show is not a fan of women giving birth. A couple of them died during it. One of them then got burned to death.
Fun fact, history is not a fan of women giving birth. In fact, that was really what lowered their
population?
Their life expectancy.
That's true.
Life expectancy for women in similar time period. I'm assuming we probably should be somewhere around like 1200 AD or something like that. Yeah. Probably pretty low.
Yeah, it's definitely not high.
I think the average life expectancy for humans was like 45, which again blows my mind that like some of these...
Probably why you had 13-year-olds getting it on.
Well, yeah. They had to. They're a midlife crisis at 15.
So this is where I buy my sports car.
Yeah, I buy a fancy horse.
That's right.
Yeah. Marry a 9-year-old.
I was just about to make the same
it's
joke.
So weird, yeah.
Oh, so bad. All right, so you guys kind of like the dragons. Were you guys expecting? We didn't really get like a dragon fight until the very end.
Yeah, it was a lame one.
Part of it was because it was a huge ass dragon and a small dragon. Are you expecting more dragon on dragon violence, kind of like we got in season?
There has to be.
That's
Okay.
the second part of the book, though, too.
Right, but when are we gonna get to it? I guess is my point. Is it
Next
gonna
season 2?
Well, are we? Or, like, how long do you think this show is going to go? Because if they keep time jumping, we'll be caught up to Game of Thrones in no time.
No, there's got to be a dragon fight next
I thought there were
year.
like 4 seasons that were piloted.
There's only been one that's been approved, and they already renewed it for season 2. But I don't know if they had a plan for 4, but right now, the only thing that's actually been greenlit is 2 seasons.
So I thought the Song of Fire and Blood, I think that's what it is. I thought that's supposed to be like 4
Is it 4?
seasons.
Okay, so what they say is it's going to take 4 full 10-episode seasons to do it justice of the Dance of the Dragons, is what they're saying.
Gotcha.
But that's not official. I think that's what George R.R. Martin says.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he wants, that's what he thinks, but it's not official from HBO. Like, obviously, if this show bombed, then they probably would maybe do a season 2 or whatever.
What did it get for reviews? Did it get a 4-season reviews?
It's got 93% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah. I don't know if it's that good, but it's definitely good.
Well, 93% is good enough.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying I don't think it was 93.
Oh.
Me personally.
I don't know.
I 83, 85 is probably
Oof.
where I'd put it. That's still not
A
bad.
B?
That's a B, yeah. This is not an A-level show.
Oh, we Asian, not Bijan.
Yeah, I don't see this show as a top-level A show, do you?
I think it's 100.
Fuck
No.
you do.
Nah, probably 86.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 80. I was like, well, that's lower than me.
86.3.
3.7 or just 3?
Just 3.
Okay.
Repeating, of course.
Oh, yes. You got to have the repeating.
No, yeah, a solid B+. There's a lot of stuff to like. There's not a lot of action that occurred in it, but the story was good. There was really good acting, so it kind of made up for
Well,
it.
there wasn't really a lot of action in the first season of Game of Thrones either.
True.
Like, we've talked about this before, too, where we kind of remember that there was, but there really wasn't.
But there was a fair amount. Like, there was the fight with Ned Stark and Jaime.
That lasts all of 4 minutes, if that.
Yeah, but it was cool.
Well, I'm not disagreeing, but it ended badly, too, which sucked. But
Yeah, that was cool.
But it was 4 minutes. That's
There
not
was
much
the
action.
Braun fight at the Eyrie, which was really cool. The first time he fights for Tyrion, and he throws the guys through the moon door.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
But there's a couple of that in here.
They last like 10 seconds.
These ones take longer than 10 seconds. That fight on the island
dragon
with
fight.
the crabs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's
war.
true.
That's a whole fucking episode,
that's,
basically.
That's one. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I was very disappointed that we didn't get more into the crab king or whatever.
I thought that was
Like,
going to be a whole side arc.
Yeah, you hear about him for like what 4 or 5 episodes.
Yeah, because they're like, we got to deal with it. No, we're not gonna. You got to deal with it. No, we're not gonna.
We're gonna go to war with this guy, and then like it's just one episode. He's just.
I wonder if that other series they're talking about making, 1,000 Ships or whatever it's called, will tie into that, because it is all about the nautical warfare.
20-year battle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like fighting over this episode for a long time.
I will say that whole scene, that whole battle was really fun to watch with Daemon, with going after them. I don't like that he killed the Crab King guy immediately. Like, you don't see it; it's off screen basically. So that's my only gripe with it. I wanted to see them like fight rather than the other guy run away. But it's still like that was a good scene of action, and then we had a dragon fight, which was some action. We had the kids fighting, a little bit more action. So again, there's some in there, but there's not much. But I don't remember there being much in the original either.
I mean, I kind of wondered personally if the Crab King was actually dead.
What do you mean?
So he kills. I mean, guy wears a mask, so you don't know what he looks like, and he kills the guy off screen, and then brings out the body. For all we know, the guy like put a mask on somebody else and threw him at Daemon, and Daemon thought he was killing
Nah.
the Crab King.
I
And then
wouldn't-
maybe he comes back now that the sea snake is pretty much dead. Well,
he's not dead.
he's
back.
not dead, but he has like he's weakened. Let's put it that way.
How?
Because now the whole kingdom's divided.
Oh, yeah, but he still has all of his ships and
Sure,
everything
but
else.
he's gonna have to be fighting war on two fronts. So now maybe the Crab King takes this opportunity to reemerge.
I think I would be more apt to believe that if they didn't do something similar with Rhaenyra's first husband, where they faked his death so that she could go be with her uncle.
Maybe he's the Crab King.
It is a circle.
He's a circle.
But yeah,
I don't
so
know.
I'd
It just
be more apt
seemed
to
weird to me that that thing always.
bugged you.
Yeah, it just didn't really make sense unless they were leaving him with the potential of being alive somehow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because you're
I
right,
just-
they built him up as like this big villain, and then they're like, he's killed off screen. Well, is he though?
Yeah, I don't know if even I would like that though. Like if they did bring him back, and
I didn't say
let's
I'd like it. I
So
just
like,
think
you
that's
be
what
like
a
I'm
a
real
doing.
prisoner.
twist, super twist.
twisty.
Damon doesn't kill him, but he allies himself with him,
Yeah, but
and then later on he comes back.
I was thinking that too. But the problem is
Damon's now a good guy?
they were only in that tunnel for like
Yeah,
a very short period of time.
Did we
so-
just become best friends?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, how do you know that they're only in the tunnel for a very
It
short amount
showed
of
you,
time?
'Cause
like
we're
him
we're
come in
watching
and then
it.
come back out while they're still fighting.
Even if they were in that tunnel for 30 minutes.
What
like
if
they-
it was previously to that he's met with him? We don't know.
yeah, this whole thing was a setup, Corey.
I think at that
Hey,
point.
we're gonna fake your death, and then
I'm going to murder all of
I
your
know,
people.
that's the hard sell. Like, all
We
of
don't-
your troops are going to get killed, but then I promise we'll be best buds. Like, that's why it would be a hard sell.
you don't know. You never know. He might be
He's
a,
crafty.
a
He
Because,
secret ally.
God damn, are you charming? Okay, I'm in.
I mean,
secret ally.
This guy is a vampire. This guy is a time traveler with a phone booth, and now he rides dragons. He can do anything, Corey. He's very crafty.
You can't make Morbius a good movie.
I mean, he was the best part about that movie.
Is the movie good?
Was he not the best part about
That's
it?
not what I
His
said.
little
I said,
dance thing
no
is
matter how good he
hilarious.
is, he can't make it a good movie.
Sure. He was the chicken salad part of the chicken shit.
Mm.
Yeah. But anyway,
Chicken shit.
well, it's the old adage of when life gives you chicken shit, make chicken salad.
Gross.
I've never heard that before.
Really?
When life gives you lemons, make
Yeah.
lemonade.
It's
I don't
just
know what
the more
backwards
manly
saying
version.
Yeah, I'm not ever gonna have a chicken shit chicken salad sandwich. I just want to let you know that.
Okay, you guys go talk to Brock Lesnar, who
Yeah, who is notorious for being intelligent.
hey, he kicked the shit out of all of us with one hand tied behind his back.
I'll put my hand up his ass and dig it out a horseshoe, and I'll beat him over the head with it.
I'm gonna have some chicken salad.
Yeah, get some chicken shit chicken salad. Yeah.
Oh, we've gone off the rails. All right. So, House of the Dragon. I don't know if you guys even answered. What did you guys think of the time jumps? Were you fine with it? Did you think that it helped the story, or were you put off like I
think
was?
we answered in the sense that we both
It
said
at
we
first
didn't like the new
confused me.
characters.
Then I hated it. Then I didn't care.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that. It
So
didn't
it-
confuse me. I just hated it. I think I
Yeah.
agree with.
Well,
and then
I didn't know what
care.
It was like, okay, so this is Rhaenyra now.
Oh, well, yeah, but I meant even before the jump to the different characters. The first episode, the second episode is 6 months. Second episode to the third episode is like 2 years.
No, that doesn't bother me only because when I look at this kind of time period, just people traveling between the
yeah,
areas
but
they're
Game
going
of Thrones was the same way. But
and
Yeah.
they time jumped.
no, they didn't.
Yeah, they did.
No, they didn't.
Yeah,
Not
they
at
did.
all.
No, there's never a scene in there where they say, "Hey, 6 months ago this happened and we drove all
No,
the way
they don't
here."
tell you.
They
you
just-
know.
It just progresses, even though it should do that. It should do like from getting from King's Landing up to where the Starks live in Winterfell should take months probably, but it doesn't in this world that we're in
So that's
Game of
bullshit
Thrones.
then.
I agree, but it's a better way of storytelling in the sense of
It's
you don't
fake
have these
storytelling.
all storytelling is fake on TV. But you
That's
don't
not
have
true.
these jumps in it that then make you go, well, what the fuck happened the last 6 months? How am I supposed to understand your character? Especially when it did jump 10 years and Rhaenyra is almost a completely different character.
Yeah.
Like, I want to side with her because she's the good guy. How am I supposed to side with her when I don't know what happened these 10 fucking years? That's
we
where I got
need
left with it.
another Game of Thrones show
For the gaps?
to fill in the gaps of the Game of Thrones shows.
So you're actually telling me this is genius by HBO because they're going to have a season for each individual episode.
A Game of Thrones is just going to be the notorious fill in the gap show. Like, now we have the prequel of the first show. Now we have the gaps to fill between the shows.
It's genius. You'll never run out of content.
Then they're just going to start rewriting. It's like Star Trek all over again.
As long as they rewrite season 8 and maybe 7, I'm fine with this.
Yes, they're going to do the Star Trek. They're going to fly a dragon into a time hole.
Wait, wasn't Star Trek have whales? Does this one have whales? Well, dragons.
Time whales.
Time whales. We can have time dragons, right? Do the Yu-Gi-Oh thing. Magic, the dragon and the time wizard.
You lost me at that one.
How Baby Dragon turns into 1,000-Year Dragon?
Oh.
Yeah.
Time Wizard!
Yeah, I was going to say, do it,
Right?
Mike. Do the accent.
That's what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
All right. So, with this show, was there any... Would you guys have rather binged it, or would you guys rather have watched it as we did probably weekly? Or did you guys binge it?
No, you did weekly.
I watched it weekly.
Yeah, so did I. Do you think that was a better way of watching it, or would you have rather sat for 10 hours?
It was the only way I could watch it.
Currently, but I meant if you had to go back and watch it today, like it's all out now, do you think that would be a better watch where you don't necessarily have a week to get thinking about the episode?
I would much rather just binge watch it on my own time.
Yeah. And I think...
But my problem is there's like, what, 8 episodes?
10?
So I would start at like 7 a.m. on Sunday and finish at like 8 a.m. or 8 p.m. on Sunday.
Yeah, that sounds fine to me.
Right, watch one day of
That's-
just Game of Thrones.
Got no problem with this at all. But I think that might also help with the time jumps. Because you'd be watching an episode, then immediately see the time jump, not wait a week and then there's a time jump.
Well, I just pretended it was a week time jump.
Right, yeah, the week in between is just its own time jump.
Yeah.
I guess.
It's been a week and 10 years.
Yeah. True.
Fucking Christ. All right. So what are you guys expecting from a season 2? If it does last the 4 seasons,
Dragons.
George R.R. Martin says, what are we expecting for season 2? Because we're now in like, if we call season 2, if we get the 4 seasons, season 2 is like the middle mark at the end of it. So what are you expecting? Because we can't have everything happen in this season if we're going to have another 2. So, I don't know. I don't think either one of you read this book, right?
Nope.
Didn't think so. So, from us as fans just watching the TV show, what do you think season 2 is?
Building up of allies.
Yeah.
From both sides?
It's going to be a lot of assigning. Like, Dorne, I don't think has really declared.
I don't think it's pledged yet. Yeah.
And they, I believe, will pledge to Targaryen, so.
Well, way to spoil it, Corey. Thanks.
No, I'm just saying based on, like,
Book
the history
reader.
we know. I didn't read the book.
Fucking nerd.
Online reader.
No, I'm saying based on what we've heard from Game of
okay.
Thrones.
Oh, from the Game of Thrones.
Right, in the Game of
rather
Thrones,
than-
they always said Dorne allied with House Targaryen, but they didn't pledge, like, they weren't, they didn't rule them. They were
Gotcha.
basically, they were one of the few kingdoms that, like, didn't want to be ruled by the Iron Throne.
Mike, is that you're thinking building of allies, dragon?
Building up allies. Well, you see the uncle, the brother.
Damon,
right? You see Damon like get the couple of the wild dragons from Dragonstone.
Yeah.
In that episode, so you're gonna see him like gather more dragons. So they're gonna be gathering dragons on both sides. You'll probably see the beginning of the dragon battles. So you'll probably see like the beginning. There'll be a few large battles, but
How do you think that the family finds out that the kid's dead and his dragon's dead?
we already saw that.
They already found out?
We saw that she found out.
Yeah.
That was
Oh,
like
I
the
missed
last
it, I
scene.
guess.
The last scene is
Her
Damon
being told, and she
Damon
just
walks
looks
in
pissed.
while they're having like a strategy meeting, and like brings her aside, and then she like cries, and then it goes in on her face.
Did
and she just
anybody
looks
know? They're
pissed.
literally
Well,
flying
my
out of
guess
nowhere.
is because they're flying around, and then somebody who's in that area of the world sees like a fucking dragon ripped in half falling to the
and
ground.
somehow immediately tells them over there. Or was that another time
No,
jump?
but they probably told somebody who told the king that they, or not the king, but the lord they went to meet with, and then that lord was like, "Fuck, I better let her know
Send
that
a pigeon?
wasn't our fault." Like,
I
hey,
guess.
your son got ripped in half by a giant dragon. Not my fault. I said don't mess with him.
Right.
I ain't got dragons.
And also, you see the two, the younger brother and then his cousin leave. I'm sure
But they go somewhere else.
Well, no, he chases after him.
Oh, well, yeah. If you're talking about what we just watched with the older one killing the younger one,
Right.
that happened. But
So
the other one,
Everyone, I'm sure, in court saw them, like the younger one take off, and then the other one take off after him,
Sure.
and then you can, by deductive reasoning, see half a dragon laying on the
Don't disagree
ground.
with that, and I guess I forgot completely about the. I guess I forgot the.
Maybe the dragon was like geotagged, and then the mom saw two things going in different directions. She's like, "Well, that's not good."
No, it's just like on the radar, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's just not there anymore.
Yeah.
Beep 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 boop.
Oh.
The other probably less likely scenario is that Aemond went back home because he didn't want to kill him. Like
No.
that.
Yeah, he looked very scared that
Well,
yeah.
so I
because
don't
he
know.
might have
lost
got-
control of the dragon.
Yeah,
Right, he might have gone home
Is that
and
what you
told
think
his
he's
mom.
scared about? Like, so he's scared of. He could be scared about two things or both. He's either scared that he lost control of his dragon, which then means I can't control this fucker, or he's scared that I just killed him and oh shit,
Yeah,
we're
that's-
going to war.
Yeah, that's
Both.
definitely a start of
Both,
war
yeah.
thing.
Okay.
I lost control of the dragon. The dragon did something really bad that I can't take back.
Yeah.
And so he probably went home and told them what happened. And then my thought might be that the queen, regardless of how, because I mean, she's not a horrible person. She still like feels for Rhaenyra. So I wouldn't be surprised if the queen still was like, we have to let Rhaenyra know what happened, even though it's gonna.
See, I don't know about that.
I
Like,
said that's less likely.
yeah,
I'm just saying.
Rhaenyra seemed to always try to get her to be back on her side or to have an understanding, but she didn't seem to want any part of it at all.
Well,
But I did like her. Is it weird in the first episode or second episode, whenever Viserys' wife dies, and then Hightower just kind of like whores out his daughter?
yeah.
Like, hey,
Go
go hang
visit
out
the
with
king
him.
and,
Yeah.
comfort him.
Yes. Which at first I was like, it feels like he's saying, hey, go
yes,
have...
on your 13th birthday, you must hang out with this 45-year-old man.
Well, no, they must have been like 17, right? Is what we decided.
No,
She
she
had
was
15.
13.
Oh, yeah, never mind. I'm thinking
Yeah,
of
15.
Daenerys.
15 in the first and second episode.
Well, jeez, I mean, get married already.
No, she's getting old.
Yeah,
I
I
know.
know. God, she's
Oh,
past the
it's way
soul,
past her
maid,
prime.
right? Ah, Jesus.
She's gonna turn into a raisin here pretty soon.
So, do you guys think it lived up to the Game of Thrones aspect? Not, again, season 7, season 8 weren't great, but if you take Game of Thrones as a whole across the board, it's a fantastic show. Do you think this lived up to it?
Game of Thrones, like, first half of the seasons, like 1 through 4 or whatever.
5.
5, yeah. I liked more than this. But I liked this a lot more than 7 and 8. So it's like, give her, hit or miss. So.
Yeah. But do you think it lived up to the Game of Thrones legacy, so to speak?
Yeah.
What about you, Mike?
So I find that this is a lot along the lines of like Lord of the Rings. Like the original Game of Thrones is always going to be like the original Lord of the Rings. Like it's the original. It's the ones that you know the longest.
Mm-hmm.
And then like House of Dragon is a lot like Hobbit. Hobbit is really good, but it's not as good as the original because it's not the original. This
Right.
is really good. It has the same ideas, the same areas, the same families. It's just a different story than the original. So it's never going to be as good as the original because it's not the original, but it is very good.
I wonder if there's a show out there, and I don't have it off the top of my head, of a show that has surpassed the other one. Well, like, if you're talking about...
Battlestar Galactica.
Surpassed what?
The original Battlestar
Yeah,
Yeah,
Galactica.
but that's a
70s.
retelling of the same story. I'm talking about a
No, it's
prequel
not.
or a spin-off. I thought it was a retelling of
No.
the same story.
No, it's not. The original was set before, and then the new one's like a sequel.
Yeah, the original one is like their pre-Cylon War.
Yeah,
like when
the
they
original
originally go to
Cylon
war.
Oh.
And then they have the armistice, and then the new one is
it's a
them
continuation.
breaking
Yeah.
the armistice.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought it was a whole redo of
No.
everything.
No, you were wrong.
I also don't think that that's necessarily true in regards to awards, writing, and all that stuff. There are probably other ones out there.
Well, you asked for an example, and I gave you one.
Yeah, I was thinking like so there are other ones out there like Frasier is a spin-off / whatever of Cheers, which could be debated as a better show than
Joey.
Cheers. Joey was awful though.
I know. I'm just
Okay.
kidding.
Wait, you're saying Frasier is better than Cheers?
There are some people that make that argument. I didn't really.
I
watch
really like
either.
Frasier, but Cheers
didn't
is
really
like a
watch
classic.
I can't even think of a lot of examples.
NCIS off of Jag.
No, yeah.
I mean, yes,
no,
NCIS.
I'm just
is-
saying those shows are all dumb. So,
I loved NCIS for quite
I
a while.
like Jag.
well,
But there
well,
are shows
Xena
out there.
and Hercules.
Hercules.
No, those
happen
those
at the
are-
same time.
Those
Yeah.
aren't what?
They're what are they called? They're like sister shows. It's not a
They
spin-off.
happen at the same
It
time.
is a spin-off.
What? I thought they aired at the same.
They did. It was Hercules and then Xena. They literally.
Sure, but a
which
character was introduced. Xena was introduced in Hercules and then
Oh.
spun off to her own show.
Was that what it was?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't.
that's
Dude, you're talking like
that's
years
like
ago.
the show Arrow on CW spun off into the Flash.
With the
spun off
Arrowverse,
into
right?
I mean the
But
characters.
is there
were-
one that's better than the original? In the Arrow, no.
Well, the Flash is
Eh.
better than the Arrow if you look at the entirety
I don't know about that.
by a long shot. Arrow first couple seasons great, and then
Yeah.
it got really dumb.
Yeah.
But
I stopped watching it like season 3.
Heck, DC
4.
Legends of Tomorrow was better than Arrow.
I've watched all of those. I like that.
I like Legends of Tomorrow. actually.
we always go back to fucking superhero shit. There's something wrong.
It's because
with
it's
us.
what we know.
I know.
It's the core of nerd.
But like, what other? I'm trying to think of other spin-offs of like.
And I'm
Big
trying to
show.
think of a spin-off that was like so good, it was like mainstream good that it put the other one to shame.
What about? Well, I'll put it to shame. No.
Star Wars.
I was gonna say like Better
Season-
Call Saul was really
season
good.
7,
Yeah, but
8,
it doesn't
9.
put
It doesn't put,
Breaking Bad to shame at all.
Yeah.
But that's what I was. I don't think we're ever going to get it, but that's kind of what I was hoping for House of the Dragon. Now it does put like season 8 to shame by easily without. It could just be 2 pieces of paper and 5 minutes long. And it
Again,
could've
I don't think it's trying
Easily.
to vie for that same spot. I think it again is just a different story. It's its own separate thing. It's just in the same universe.
ish. Because it's definitely doing the exact same thing, and that it's a lot of stuff that was talked about during Game of Thrones too. So they're following that story that's already was talked about in Game of Thrones. Like we already know technically how it's supposed to end via what they said in Game of Thrones.
Right, but it's not you're not like spinning off from like different characters of the same like that like Snow. I feel like
Yep.
Snow would be a spin-off.
Yeah, it's sequel. It is a sequel spinoff. Yeah,
Right.
This
And
is just a prequel.
Right. This is like its own separate thing.
I don't know. You mean spin-off because it involves a character from the original show?
That's technically
Right.
what a spinoff is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was just wondering if there was something out there that was like mind-boggling, and I can't think of anything.
No.
That where the second one just surpassed the first one by all stretch of the imagination.
I mean, maybe Xena. I know it was more
yeah,
popular.
but it didn't like. I'm talking about a show that is.
What about Angel and Buffy?
Buffy won way more awards than Angel.
Did it? But I thought
Yeah.
Angel was more like fans liked Angel more or
I
something.
don't think so.
No.
And then we also got screwed by it being on the CW and them canceling it. Ugh, bastards.
Yeah, probably the only one I can think of is that like people generally like The Flash and DC, like all, those shows more
Arrowverse,
than
yeah.
Arrow.
Which apparently now the Arrowverse is dead.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's a hard
Hard question.
no, the Flash being like a spin-off, like those characters already exist.
Well, sure,
But it's a spin-off of that show because
but
they got
they already
introduced-
exist in what, the comics?
Yeah, like
Well,
it's not
Game of Thrones and Hot D, like those.
Hot D.
That's what people call it.
Who?
Anytime I get messaged about House
Why
of
are
the
you getting
Dragon,
Yeah, why is
messages
somebody messaging you
about
about getting
Hot
the Hot
D?
D?
I think you misunderstood. I think you saw Hot D and you're like, oh, House of the Dragon. Why? That's not a dragon. Why is that a penis?
Well, Hot D.
You want some Hot D tonight? I love that show.
Every Sunday night, it's Hot D for an hour.
Yikes.
Yeah, you wish. All right. So let's wrap up this podcast. So what are we thinking?
You heard all this talk about Hot D.
I got all
I gotta be done, guys. I gotta go.
Steaming up my glasses.
I got some stuff to look at on the computer.
I really got to get to editing.
Yeah.
So what do we feel about this show? I know it's good, but like honestly, this is a show you would recommend for people, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would
Regardless
tell other
of-
people this is good.
I fucking hate you.
This is really
Even
good.
if they didn't like Game of Thrones, would you recommend this for them, or do you think that's like a prerequisite? Like, if you like Game of Thrones, you'll definitely like this.
If they don't like Game of Thrones, I probably wouldn't be like, oh, you're gonna love this show, because it is similar in nature to Game of Thrones. However, if your issue with Game of Thrones is that you didn't make it to when dragons finally showed up,
Right?
hey, they're here right at the beginning of this one.
Dragons. Yeah.
You don't have to wait forever. So, I mean, but yeah, more than likely, if they don't like Game of Thrones,
the dragons
they're not gonna
are
like this.
coming.
Yeah. Floppy weed.
Don't worry. The dragons are coming.
So what about you, Mike? Closing thoughts?
So again, I feel like this is, I want to say a standalone, but you can definitely watch this without having to watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But obviously watching Game of Thrones gives you more of a background to a lot of these, characters in the storyline.
Yep.
And it was really good.
We're at the really for you.
I liked it.
That's true. You're in the 90s.
Yeah, I like this kind of genre. I like the sci-fi, and then I like the fantasy.
Yeah. And it's one of
This
the
is
things I
not
like
both.
about it. One of the things I loved about Game of Thrones too, which this show does as well, is the performances by the actors are usually pretty good. And not just good in the sense of you guys like to say the word good, but actually good.
It's good.
In the sense of the acting's good. Like obviously Ned Stark in the first season is fantastic. Then
You gotta kill him.
oh, what is his
Sean Bean didn't have a
Tyrion
chance.
in season 2 literally throws that show on his back and carries it, and it just shows you how good of an actor he can be, and especially then whatever season it is where he gets put on trial for killing his nephew was fantastic, his acting. And in this show you have like 3 or 4 performances by characters that they're where their acting is just spot on. So if you like a show that is fantasy, that it does have good acting, has some action and a lot of dragons, even though there's not much action with the dragons this season, yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. Yeah.
I wonder, maybe we'll get some more dragon action next time.
Dragon action?
Yeah.
Some hot D.
We saw some
Yeah.
egg laying, probably got to be fertilized sometime, right? No? All right. So next week we're going to be, it's just going to be Corey and I. We're going to be doing Cobra Kai, which we've actually already recorded, thankfully, because technically next week recording would be Thanksgiving.
It's a prequel.
It's a prequel, yes.
Hey, is that better than whatever
Karate Kid?
Karate Kid?
So
Is that one?
God.
Is that a thing?
Well, technically that's a movie. I was more talking about a TV show, but yeah, that's a movie that then got spun off into a TV show, which is a spin-off, but it's also
I feel
just
like
a
more people
continuation.
like Cobra Kai than watched and liked Karate Kid.
Part of that, though, is the Karate Kid came out in the 80s, which didn't have Netflix, and now we have Netflix, so people can just binge this show. And
Karate
it's-
Kid 1 is better than Cobra Kai. Hands down. But then Karate Kid 2 when they go to Japan, I think.
Is 2 Japan or 2 when he goes bad? No, 2 is Japan.
2 is Japan.
3 is when he goes bad.
Also better than Cobra Kai. Karate Kid 3, not better than Cobra Kai. Karate Kid, The Next Generation, not
That's not what
better
it's
than
called.
Cobra Kai.
Isn't
And
that
then
with like
the next Karate Kid.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
the girl or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Hilary Swank.
Hilary Swank, yeah.
Yeah. So Corey and I talk about all of that on the next episode, and then the episode after that will be on Black Panther 2, which we go see Saturday.